We are well into fall up here in Door County, and fall, late summer, early fall is the season for all the native goldenrods, and the most common one is this one, Canada goldenrod, which can get, as you can see, almost 5 feet tall. All the goldenrods are wonderful pollinators for various kinds of bees and wasps and flies and beetles, all kinds of insects love the goldenrods. And this is the one that is often blamed for people's hay fever. Some people will call this mistakenly ragweed instead of goldenrod. Ragweed's a different plant, also a native, with white flowers that aren't even noticeable, so you don't even know that it's in bloom sometimes. But ragweed, the true ragweed, is the one that often causes people's hay fever. But this is what is so noticeable in bloom. You can see fields of it sometimes. So people see, well, this is what's in bloom. I have hay fever. This must be causing my hay fever, but it's not possible. The pollen of ragweed, of goldenrods, see how confusing this can be? The pollen of goldenrods is too heavy to be blown in the wind. It's bee pollinated, not wind pollinated. So although this is often seen as kind of a nasty plant, it is not what causes hay fever. It can be very aggressive though, for somebody trying to establish, let's say, a small prairie planting. If this gets in there, it can take over. I have a little meadow in my front yard that I planted a few years ago, and I purposely pull the goldenrod, the Canada goldenrod that grows up in there, right? Because it'll just take over. But in terms of causing people's allergies, hay fever, this is not the plant. We are not yet at peak fall color up here, although my guess is it's going to be a really good year. But we're early on in the fall color season, and here's a good example. This is round leaf dogwood, one of 5 native dogwoods in Door County, and the most common one by far. And my guess is that this is the most common deciduous shrub in all of Door County. Can get quite tall. This one's over 10 feet tall in the middle there. They can get up to 15 feet tall. They form little colonies or groves. It has a much fatter leaf than the other dogwoods, rounder, so hence the name round leaf dogwood. Like most dogwoods, a little cluster of nice white flowers in spring, and they produce in this species a little white fruit that takes on a little bluish tinge as it matures. And with all dogwoods, the minute the fruit is ripe, the birds take it. The birds love all the dogwood fruits, so these are gone. Here are some that dried up, but the ripe fruits are gone. But fall color in all dogwoods is very nice. It tends to be in the maroons, like this. I did pick up another nice leaf on the way walking over here. This is a leaf of big-tooth aspen. People don't think of aspens as having anything but yellow fall color, but in good years, big-tooth aspen can get nice orange too. So this is kind of always been an indicator species for me. If the big-tooth aspen have a lot of orange in it, it's typically a really good fall color year. So that's part of my prediction. But the main thing here is the wonderful color on roundleaf dogwood. The most common goldenrod at the clearing, and a plant that most people wouldn't even recognize as goldenrod, is this one. It's all along here. This is zigzag goldenrod with a much smaller group of flowers. That's called an inflorescence, a group of flowers. It's called an inflorescence. Much smaller on zigzag goldenrod than certainly on the other one, Canada goldenrod, and even the other, we have gray goldenrod here, and Ohio goldenrod. We have a few other species in Door County. This is probably the most common one, along with Canada goldenrod. Again, this beautiful, and this is in full bloom right now. Great pollinator. It gets the name zigzag goldenrod because of the way the stem zigs or zags from one leaf to the next. A lot of plants do that. This one got the name, zigzag goldenrod. It also has a much, much wider leaf than the other native goldenrods. This is one that likes partial shade, not full sun like the other goldenrods. So plants that grow in the shade often have a more leaf surface, a wider leaf in this case, in order to harvest more sunlight. But this is very common not in deep, deep shade, but in this high shade situation along the road here. And there's a little bumblebee or honeybee on it right here. So again, all the goldenrods are great pollinators and none of them cause hay fever. The fall color on Virginia creeper, which is also called woodbine, is always nice. And here it is kind of crawling all around the ground like a ground cover. Also growing up a birch tree. So they'll crawl on the ground, they'll grow up into shrubbery, they'll grow up a tree trunk, they'll even grow on vertical building surfaces. We've often had a lot of it on the lodge, but they cut that all back last year in order to clean all the wood, all the stone. It'll grow back someday probably. But the fall color is always not as nice in the shade as it is out in full sun where it can be almost bright red. But nice. Some people consider it weedy and don't like Virginia creeper, and they don't like the way it climbs up buildings, and they think it's bad for the building, and it can be on wooden surfaces. But it's a nice native plant. It's in the same family as grape, and I've always loved it. And I've actually planted it at home on purpose under some red pine trunks to grow up the trunk, and it's doing it. So I like it. Virginia creeper. Just up the walk a little ways from the Virginia creeper is snowberry, typical height about 2 feet, and you can see how it gets the name, these pure white fruits. I think it's a true berry. True berries have multiple seeds inside. Certain other fleshy fruit only have one seed. That's a different botanic description. That's called a drupe, like dogwoods have a drupe fruit, not a berry, but it looks like a berry. Anyway, this is snowberry. It's in the same family as honeysuckle. It looks a lot like a honeysuckle, except for it has white fruits instead of red or orange. But I think people who are aware that many honeysuckles are invasive and they're out doing invasive work on their property, eliminating like the Terrarian honeysuckle, they'll see this and assume it's one of those because it looks a lot like it from the foliage. So I think a lot of this gets torn up or cut down because people assume it's an invasive honeysuckle when in fact it's a nice native plant, classic understory plant. Doesn't like it out in the full sun, likes it in this high shade. And these berries will often last for many months, well into winter, until something, bird, squirrel, chipmunk, not chipmunk because they hibernate, squirrel or a bird will eat these eventually. But they last a long time. Not a bright color, but interesting. Well, here's a beautiful fruit cluster on doll's eye or white baneberry. The foliage is long gone. They do get some years a rust fungus that kills all the foliage. Plant's still alive. It'll come back next year. I know it looks dead, but it's not. But the real show, there are two shows on this plant. In spring, all these are little clusters of white flowers that are not terribly showy, but they're pretty, but they smell great. You have to get close, but they smell like lemons. But the real show on doll's eye or white baneberry is now with these fruits on these red stems. They're called pedicels. The berry stem's called a pedicel. Now these are poisonous and seriously poison. So you don't want to eat these, obviously, but something does. Either a bird or a squirrel or some creature out there will eat these. They'll slowly disappear, like one or two at a time, not all at once. They know better than to eat them all at once, but these will one by one disappear. So something eats them. But after they're gone, this colorful cluster of these berry stems or pedicels stays behind for weeks, up until winter sometimes. So you get a lot of color from that too. So doll's eye or baneberry in full fruit. This plant that appears to be a shrub isn't a shrub. It's an herbaceous perennial, dies back to the ground before winter. It's one of our native woodland wildflowers. It's called spikenard. It's in the same family as ginseng, and I think it's the biggest growing wildflower in Door County, if not the biggest, for sure one of the biggest. I have some at home that are probably approaching 5 feet tall, and you can see the width here, close to 6 feet, or at least 5 feet. And it's got these huge doubly compound leaves, doubly pinnately compound leaves. So this whole thing from there to here is botanically one leaf. These are all leaflets. On the ends, they have these big clusters of creamy white flowers in spring, very nice and showy. And they end up producing these little fruits, the size of a small pea maybe. Mostly gone now, but you'll often get multiple colors on the same cluster: green, pink, and then finally red. And birds, squirrels, chipmunks eat them eventually. So it's good for attracting wildlife for the fruit, but it's just such a wonderful, big, bold, textured plant. One of my favorites, spikenard.